that will be happening. And so, with that, I definitely want to say this week is the week where we have been going through so many different phases in this journey to Black history. And this week, the focus is all around a tree and a butterfly, where we have moved from the seed form or the egg form to now a tall tree or also a beautiful butterfly. And so, with that, I know the particular piece that you see here at the bottom is we are finishing something that we started. And so tonight, the focus is whatever it is you came into this challenge with at the beginning. We hope that now you are at this moment from hearing all the stories of the historians that have come before us. Many are here in this room, many are coming into this space, that you now are able to stand tall. And you now are able to think about what is going to be your history making moment as well. And so, our focus this week, I'm so excited, is to finish what we started. And with that, want to definitely
Hi, my name
share,
is
and
Tamika.
this is coming up again. Sorry about that. So, want to definitely share one person. I know we have gone through so many different African American historians since we have been in this space. We have went through the Greensboro Forum movement. We've talked about Debbie Thomas, who was the first who did two things at one time. We talked about the Black abolitionists who continue to stand up and implement so many different things. And today, week 4, our focus is really going to be on this woman that you see here, which is Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. She was an abolitionist, an organizer, and did so much. Was on so many different committees. It blew my mind how many things she was on. She was a part of the American Anti-Slavery Society. She also did a lot with the abolitionist movement. She worked with the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which goal was to abstain from alcohol, purity, and Christian evangelism to make the world a better place. And she also was one of the founding members of the National Association of Colored Women Club as well. And she did a lot of the work on the sidelines with Frederick Douglass, all of that. She actually died on this particular day, on February 22nd, 1911. But one thing that she did do is that she made such a difference in so many spaces, but she did it in community. And she was a part of so many different groups where she used her voice for the first time with speaking poetry and then continued to use it to bring people together. And so when I think about this night, it is a night where we are coming from all different parts of industries and different parts of worlds and different parts of every single thing. But we are coming in here together to think about what is the movement that we are going to collectively make, either through our quote, either through hearing from someone who has had those things occur in their lives, or even through figuring out how we can all be connected as well. So excited that you all are here in this room. Welcome those who have come into this room. Please put where you are from in the chat. And we are so excited that you are here today. And one thing that we're going to be using to do that is this journal. And some of you have it. And if you don't have it, please take out a pen, paper, or something so you can capture all of these notes and all of these things that you have been gaining. But each of the historians who have come before us have shared some amazing quotes. And you tonight are also going to be able to share yours, whether in breakout room or whole group. That is the goal. And after that quote is shared, there may be something that you reflect on or something that resonates with you. We want you to write that down. And then think about, as you write it down, what action steps are you going to take? What are those things that you are going to do with the quote, either that you share, that you hear, and then also that you learn during this time? Are you going to share it with somebody else? Are you going to rewrite it? Are you going to apply it to your own life? Are you going to reflect it, meaning you're going to mirror what that quote says? Are you going to research what the quote is about? Like, what is the action that you're going to take? And then the other part is thinking about, now, after I've done all of that, what's going to be the result? And so tonight, that is going to be our focus. Like, what is going to be the result of the things that you speak out in this space today? What is going to be the result of collectively working together to figure out what we can do to change the narratives in our community or in our organizations? That is going to be the goal. And I can't wait because I see all these people in here who are thinking about what they're going to do and what they're going to say. And I think it's going to be amazing for what happens as well. So, with that, if you can put down in the chat before we even get here, what are some of the things that you have seen either this month or this week that you want your community to be able to repeat, say, or do? I'm going to give you a moment and you can come off mute and say that as well. But what is it that you want your community, the people who you are around, to repeat, to say, or to do? What is that thing? And if someone wants to come off of mute, you can. I just want to hear your voices before I continue to keep talking and introduce our panelists. Hey, come on in the room.
Yeah, like I dropped in the chat, I'm Vernon from Chicago, and just something that I've had to reflect on this month, particularly, um, and that I really hope and feel like people are consistently reflecting on, because I before, this month wasn't really reflecting all that much, time and time again. Well, hearing again, but not as much as I should have, and not as much as I am now that I realize the importance of this quote I'm about to share. But recognize the significance of family, um, from a community aspect, from an interpersonal aspect, um, from a emotional and empathetic standpoint, just recognizing the significance of family has been something that I've kind of been forced to do this month. Having lost a few loved ones, but being able to get through those tough times by being in community and working in tandem with some of the folks that I grew up around, and some of the folks that I haven't seen for years, but being able to recognize and see them and recognize that I love them and that, we share energy. Um, that's something that I want people to focus on and reflect on.
That's deep, Vernon. Can you make sure you put, because I don't even see it in the chat. Can you put it in the chat too
Yeah, I
when
got you.
you
I'm gonna drop it
can?
in the chat.
So Vernon's focus was on family. And when I think about that, I think about, man, like it's not only about us, it's also the people we're connected to. So, like, that is powerful as well. Does anyone else have any other things that they want to hope they want to repeat, say, and do within their community before we get started tonight? And Burners was recognize the importance of family. Yes, Danny, come on in the room.
Hi, my name is Danny, and I'm in Chicago right now. And I just wanted to share something that I was speaking to Tamiko earlier, and something that you said really resonated with me, and I wanted to share it. So I was expressing that, it's been a really busy week. I'm in college right now, so I've been super busy, super tired. And you asked me, what if I'm making time for myself, and what I'm going to do. And I said that I was going to make time this weekend to get more sleep. And you told me to make sure that I honor it. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of times I will say something, I'll be like, yeah, I'll sleep later, I'll do this later, but I don't actually honor it, because I'm like, oh, I'm just so busy, like I need to work. But I really appreciate that you said that. And I've actually been thinking about that a lot, on how I will honor it and I will make time, because taking care of myself and my rest is just as important as taking care of what I need to get done. So thank you, Tamiko.
And how many people in this room like also say the same thing? Like, I'm gonna rest, and then you don't rest, but then you're like, you know what? I need to do it, and I'm gonna honor that commitment. How many people in here say that? If you do, put your hand up, use a reaction, use something in the space. Danny, you are not alone. And I appreciate you sharing that, especially right now. So please, if there is anyone else who definitely wants to share because tonight is definitely a share fest. It is not going to be us all talking or not saying anything. It is, again, what is it that we are going to do to truly make sure we make some bold first moves, either personally or professionally, and ensure that those bold first moves, we don't struggle to get there. We're going to use our community. We're going to use our family. We're going to honor our words. And how are we going to do that effectively? And so I definitely want to hear those things in the chat, want to hear you speak up and share those things as well. And I hope that tonight we walk away with some tangible things that we can do to put these things that we speak out in place. So, with that, I'm going to share this next slide where the focus again for this night is what is going to be your quote? What is going to be those history making moves that you are going to set for the rest of 2024? The other thing, we do have historians who have worked with us throughout this entire 4 weeks to come in to talk about their reflection points. Like, what have they done? But we also want to hear what are some things that you have done. And then we're going to have a breakout session where we're going to get an opportunity to hear more of those quotes. Our panelists will be in those rooms as well to hear what those things are. And then we're going to share out and really share what are the things that we're going to do. And so I already saw Vernon go over and get his journal. Like, I already saw some people actually get their pencils and their paper. Yeah. So bring those things out. And then also, if there is something that resonates with you during this time, ensure that you write those things down. We don't want you to forget it. We don't want you to forget it. And we want you to know that your voice, especially in this space, is huge. And Nicole just put something in the chat too. Nicole, you want to unmute and share it? Or you want me to read it out? Nikki? So what Nikki did.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. What Nikki shared is, I would love to see the community continue to be kind to one another and support in ways that matter to progress us forward. That's huge. I hope, Nikki, you could talk more about that, because I would infer so many things from there. But again, what I do see, and I think this is the same thing Vernon said, like, it's community. Like, we need community and we need family in order to do this. So thank you definitely for sharing that as well. So we'll also be able to talk about what is next, because this is the end of the challenge. And like, what is definitely going to be next as a result of that. And so with that, I definitely want to thank you all for being here in this space. These are the things that I know I want to be top of our mind during our time. What did we start, finish, never begin? What did you learn or are learning? And what advice would you share to others, especially around this particular moment? And one of our historians is actually here to share his story. And that person is Lawrence Fred. He is here in the room today. And Lawrence, what I want you to do, and everyone else, while he is here, please take out that pen, that paper, all of that. Before Lawrence, you share, I would just want the people who are on our panel to share, like, what is a hope that you all have for the people who are coming into this room tonight. And Cheryl, I'll start with you first. Dr. Cheryl, I'll start with you first. And then Vicki, and then Lawrence. You said don't start with you? Okay, so Dr. Cheryl, unmute. What is your hope for tonight?
I am unmuted. I am hoping that there's a repeat of what we've experienced from weeks before. And that is just an abundance of sharing, an abundance of encouragement, just an abundance of love. I mean, I've never seen you all before. I do know Nikki, but I haven't seen you all before, but already feeling love, and just, I that's what I'm hoping for. Just some additional love, some additional encouragement in this space.
Yes, thank you. Vicki, if you could unmute.
Okay. What I am hoping for is that we leave better than the way we were when we entered, that we have something that just makes us better.
Thank you for sharing that. Lawrence.
I actually have another saying, and that's eat the meat, cut the fat. So whatever's for you, use that. And then whatever's not, you discard that.
Love that, Lawrence. Oh my, so you already gonna get us started into going a little bit deeper as it is, because I'm like, I need to write that down. So, Lawrence, if you can just introduce yourself to the individuals in the room, I know who you are, but everyone else may not know. So, just tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll go into your quote as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, and good evening, and pardon my my tardiness. I deeply apologize. Yes, my name is Lawrence Frett, and I am the founder and CEO of College Match Pros, HBCU 360. And just a little bit about myself. Um, I am a I am an individual who's just purpose driven. That's the best way to, that question is always interesting to me. Just purpose driven. I just, I want to be here and do the purpose that I'm aligned to do and fulfill what it is that I'm supposed to do. And I thank God that I am truly in that alignment right now.
And man, if there are any other purpose driven people in this space, please put a reaction on your screen or type it in the chat if that is you. I don't think you're alone, Lawrence. I think it's a lot of people in this room who also are driven by purpose and their why. And thank you all for putting those reactions in here. So, Lawrence, this is your quote. If you could read this quote out and talk about the why behind that quote, and then what was that bold first move that you had in order for this quote to become a reality?
Yeah, see it before you can see it. That it's one of those things growing up, you would always hear, um, study. Well, how? Right? Have faith, how? You know, I've always kind of had these questions of how, if you will, right? And if it was studying, if it was going to church, hey, you gotta have faith. Okay, what's the how? So as I got older and I understand the calling that I was called to do within the space that I was called to do it, I had to kind of teach myself because faith is a part of it, but I had to really ask myself, what does faith look like? And for me it was really learning how to tap in and see it before I can see it, right? So to that end, the manifestation of faith was me closing my eyes and kind of reliving a childhood of using my imagination for the things that it was that I wanted to do, and that I was desiring and that I was manifesting. And I would literally, I've learned how to meditate and see those things that, I was praying for, those things that I was hoping for. So when I say see it before you can see it, it's literally that. It's literally whatever it is that you're going after, close your eyes and continue to see it every single day, to manifest it until it actually becomes reality. Of course, there's a work component of that. We're not omitting that part. But the first step to it is, in my opinion, for me, was being able to see it. I had to see it. And to that end, it runs this deep where within my company, we do in-school college tours with virtual reality headsets. So we bring college campus tours to schools. And right now we're on this tour. Next week I'll be in Boston. We're flying up to Boston and we do these HBCU college tours, and the whole tour is surrounded around see it before you can see it. So with these virtual reality tours, it's completely immersive. So you can sit in Atlanta, Chicago, you can be on, essentially whatever college campus, HBCU college campus, And the whole thought and the drive behind that was we wanted students, and personally, I wanted students to be able to see it before you can see it. You got to see yourself doing it before it actually becomes a reality to it. So to that end, it's not just a quote to me, it's something that I live, regardless of whatever that looks like. If it's buying a house, let me close my eyes and see this house. If you're a person and you have a job and you want a promotion, whatever it is, for me, I have to absolutely incorporate the what we know as faith, but this was my how. My how was being able to see it before you could see it. So it's something that I even teach my kids. I don't like when people tell you to do stuff, but then they don't give you the how. I've heard that my entire life, like I said, just going back to studying teachers. Study, you got to study for this test. How? How do I study? Because these flashcards is memorization. I know I'm not really digesting anything. This is memorization. So what's the how? So the how for me in conclusion is just being able to see it before you can see it. So close your eyes, go back, find that kid in you. That's what I did. And that allowed me to take the first step, was being able to see it in my imagination first, see it in my thought process first. And then I was able to actually essentially manifest that. And through the grace of God, that manifestation has now, shown itself in so many different schools. When we go into these different schools, and it's amazing to see 25 or 30 students with a virtual reality headset on, and they're seeing it before they can actually see themselves on that campus. So Tamiko, thank you for the opportunity, greatly appreciate it. And like I opened up and said, um eat the meat, cut the fat. So hopefully you got a little bit of meat from this. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So I know I can't see everybody's faces that don't have their faces on, but I can see the faces that I see. So if there was something that Lawrence just said that resonated with you, can you either unmute or drop it in the chat? Because I know my head was going. And I'm going to ask everybody in here a question in just a second. But if you want to unmute to share, what was that thing that resonated with you? What was that thing that you saw in terms of your own experience where you had to do exactly what Lauren said? You had to see it before you saw it. And then also like you had to know it beforehand. So if there was someone in here,
I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Please go
okay,
ahead.
don't apologize.
Listen, I thought you were saying say it before you can see it. And I was excited about that. As I continue to listen to you, I'm like, oh no, see it before you can see it. Imagine it, fully walk in it before you can actually achieve it. Oh my goodness, that took me to a whole different level. And so I'm over here writing notes. I'm like, oh yes, I got it. I got it. See it before you can see it. It was beautiful. It's so simple, but it is very, very powerful. And I think that as you share with students, that's something they can get with. And so I'm just going to tell you, put that on a t-shirt, brother, make that money, make that money. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was definitely digging it, because visualization is powerful by virtue of perspective. It's about how you see things just as much as seeing them itself is concerned. And that's the type of thinking that's got me through tough times, man. That's the type of thinking that's really, shifted the way that I can view any situation just as well as I can view any goal. Um, and it's very powerful.
Yeah, peace, family. I would add on. Forgive me, I'm a little under the weather, but adding on to what my brother was saying, I mean what the sister was saying, you could say it before you see it as well, because words create worlds. So that builds on your own insight and push the envelope forward within itself.
Did you just say words create worlds?
That's what I was told. Words create
Oh my
worlds.
god. Can you put that in the chat? I don't
Yes,
know if
ma'am.
you have the, but I do think these things that we are hearing, like I done heard about 6 different things that was said after one quote. But again, this is powerful. Like, are you all seeing like every single person has a different way that they're seeing it, but the way they are saying it makes so much sense and can be applied in so many places. And now it's our job to think about how, because Lauren said that, how we are going to make this a reality in the spaces that we're in. So I saw someone say, oh, thank you, Jamar Brappy. Hopefully I'm saying it right. Uh, uh,
Yeah, that's correct.
but yeah, thank you for putting that in the chat. Yay. So here's the activity we're gonna do before we bring these other people up here. And I'm doing this after Lawrence, and I'm being obedient. Um, what is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to see for yourself? Because this challenge was done to really think about how can we make this history? We got all these historians out here that we've seen. We know Martin Luther King. We know Harriet Tubman. We know, Pullman Porters. We know all of these people, but we also are historians in itself. We also have a story to share. We also have things that I know have been put on our heart to do for not only ourselves, but also our community. And so Lawrence just said we have to see it before we see it.
What can I?
So the question is, yes, Jamar. So the
Um,
question is,
mhm.
what do we need to see?
I would like to see more people understand that that change or revolution starts from the inside out. I think that once people start to build upon themselves from the inside and not attach themselves to things on the outside, I think that the world will become a better place.
Thank you. And there are a lot of head nods here too. Jamar, I can't wait to see like what your quote is. I just can't wait. I can't wait. You just said a whole bunch. I'm like, oh my God. Anyone else? Cicely, I saw you kind of come off mute. Oh no. Okay.
To me, go
Lawrence.
Jamar.
Uh-huh.
Jamar's my best friend since our freshman year of college, and so you could just imagine some of the conversations we have.
I
Just
was
want
trying
to
not to
throw
blow it
that
up.
out there.
Oh, so glad you're in the space. So glad you're in the space, Jamar. So one, I definitely want to ensure that during this time, especially when we bring up these panelists and also we open the floor again to you all, that the things that they are saying, the things that they are sharing, those are things that you also want to incorporate or also want to do, but also things that again that you can take back around others seeing it too within your spaces as well. So thank you, Lawrence, for your quote. Thank you, everyone, for sharing more. And I know that we have some of our historians in the room tonight. And the things that they're going to focus in on are these particular questions that I know I shared out with individuals who started with our challenge and who are, coming in through so many different things that are happening in their community or their personal lives, but for them to really elaborate on these particular questions. And the goal also is for you to be a part of that conversation because you are also a panelist tonight. You are also in this room. And there are things that you may share and things you may say that also probably need to be illuminated. And also, there may be some connections in this space to make the seeing a reality in theirs. So, again, take out your pencils, take out your pens, take out your paper. And our panelists, I'm going to pose this first question, which is what was stopping you from pursuing your goal or dream at the beginning of this challenge, or even the beginning of the quote that you formed? And what bold first move will you make to achieve it? Or what move have you made to achieve it? So I'm going to open that up to our panelists who are here tonight. And so anybody can start. So Vicky, Cicely, thank you for coming into the space. Dr. Cheryl, and also Lawrence.
Yeah, I had that question. So are we all panelists? I don't know who's the panelist.
So yes, I want to give it to the panelists first, and then I'm gonna open it up to everyone else. Thank you, Jamar.
Okay.
Tamiko, I'm sorry. Can you specifically identify the names of the panelists again that you're referencing right now?
So yes, so all of you who are on the screen. So either Cicely, Vicky, Lawrence, or Dr. Cheryl. This is an open discussion. And maybe I'll start because I know I'm one of the panelists.
I was gonna start. Okay.
This challenge in itself was a bold first move for me. I am usually one person who likes to sit back and observe before I actually start to do something. And because I observed so many things that were happening in our community and so many things that were put on my heart to do, I didn't see people who look like me doing those things. And so I was like, how can I bring people together to hear their process moments? Because a lot of people always talk about the end result. People always show you the pictures of what happened at the end, and nobody ever talks about the things that happen all in the between. They never talk about the journey, whether it was hard, whether it was easy, all of that. And I wanted people to share their process because in the process moments, you learn so much. And for me, I had been talking about all these things that I wanted to do, and I made that process moment public so other people can see, yes, I have had struggles. Yes, I have had hard times. It may look easy, but it's not. But the bold first move was in my vulnerability. I actually impacted more people to be more vulnerable, to share, and also be able to think about how they can make those bold first moves to change situations that were happening too with other people around them. So that's how I definitely used it. And that's how I continue to make sure that we talk about these processes, which don't do it alone. And so those bold first moves were huge for me. And I also want to incorporate it and make sure that we all do those things because we all have something that we are willing to give. We just need to ensure that we do it and that we do it even afraid. So that is my particular piece as well. Anyone else want to chime in? If you don't have anything, it's okay.
Okay, that was
Hey,
helpful.
Mitchell.
I'll chime in.
Go ahead, Lawrence. Now
I'll chime in.
I'll go after Lawrence.
Sometimes, despite courage, sometimes you gotta get mad enough to want to change or make a change, right? And I think sometimes what happens is for me and what it is that I was doing, I went to bed to it and I woke up to it. So at some point, it's kind of like looking myself in the mirror and saying, you got to have the courage, especially again, for me running a company. And at the time I was working within the school system, I knew the check was going to be there at the 15th and the 30th. Right. And then to be able to step away, but understand that there was a preparation that went into this. And I think there's many different ways of saying this. You hear the saying, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I think what happens is sometimes when you prepare yourself, it gives you the courage to be able to step out. So preparation helps with the courage that's needed to be able to move on you know, whatever that thing is that is calling you, right? You know, so I personally feel like the courage comes from knowing that you're prepared. And I'll never forget it. There was a Ray Lewis in his linebacker speech for the Hall of Fame, I think it was, and he said, I stepped on the field and I knew no one had prepared more than me. And I think, again, with that courage, having the courage to step out and do something, you the bold move comes from knowing that you've prepared. And as my mom used to tell me when I was younger, just, you know, do your best and let God do the rest.
Yeah, I really love what you just said. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. That's a whole mouthful. Listen, yeah, I'm an educator from a long time ago. And in retirement, my family and friends tell me I am absolutely fake retired. And so I launched my own business in retirement. It's crazy. Now I'm trying to figure out how to stop this massive snowball from getting even more massive. But one of the things that I've been doing is I've been watching kids. I can't help it, right? I'm always looking at kids. I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh my goodness, they need some help. Like, what is wrong? And I'm like, nope, don't do it, Cheryl. Don't do it, because if you do, you're going back in, and I cannot afford to go back in. I can't. Emotionally, I can't afford to go back in. So I'm like, all right, I know I need to do something. But I tell you what has happened. People started reaching out to me saying, could you just come and talk to our middle schoolers? I've been in front of middle schoolers twice this month, and then kindergartners also, and I've got to see them tomorrow or they're going to find me somewhere and hurt me. I got to bring them stickers. But I've been talking to middle schoolers, and I think that's a critical age. And I love that I can recognize that that's the critical age. I don't want the high schoolers. They've already formed their little thoughts, and the little kids, their thoughts are formed for them by the adults in their lives. And so this challenge has caused me to stop and go back and go all in for middle schoolers, because those are the ones who are most vulnerable. Those are the ones who are listening to their friends say, go on and take it. It ain't nothing. Go on, have this. Just go ahead. That's the critical population, and I'm glad that I'm being directed in that in that space towards them. And I'm grateful that schools are reaching out and asking me, although I don't really have a whole lot of time, but yeah, just going in for middle schoolers.
So Miko, to answer the question, I'm Vicky, and full disclosure, I am Tamiko's cousin. So I've known her whole life since I'm the oldest. I'll say that. And I am coming from Georgia. And to answer the question, what was stopping me from making the bold move? I would say it was uncertainty. And it kind of goes along with, I believe the gentleman's name was Lawrence, I think, that says you have to see it before you can see it. And that was a part of the process for me. I was an educator as well. And I transitioned out of the classroom into a second career. And I did it basically, it was walking on water. You know, I knew that it was time to make a change, but I didn't want to let go of what I had always been familiar with. But what I had been familiar with wasn't working for me. And actually, it was becoming detrimental to the point to where it impacted my health. And I had to actually take that step out on the water, and God was with me. And once I took that step, everything just fell in place. So sometimes you have to blindly trust and know that everything is going to work together for good. If you, and I don't want to offend anyone by saying this, but if you belong to God and God is in you and you love him and you know within yourself that God loves you, and that's what I had to keep reminding myself. God loves me and I know it. So I'm going to act like it. And I'm going to take him at his word and I'm going to trust him. And so at the end of this challenge, I find myself continuing to trust him and to continue to show up for me because God loves me and I know it and I have to act like it. And that just means that I see it before I see it. And I have to remind myself that I see it before I see it because God loves me and I know it.
Amen. All right. Y'all full up in here. Um Thank you so much for having me. So I'm so contemplative. Life respects those who make decisions. What I've done, that's my quote. What I've done in the movement of that, it does. Yeah, I was gonna mention that, Tamiko. And so it's you know, borrowing something from everyone who spoke. Lauren spoke about the over preparation or the preparation thereof. And that's never been an issue for me. I've been one reared in preparation and holding a certain standard from my childhood. And so my issue has been being the overly prepared, if you will, without execution. And so because of the relationship with perfectionism, as our counselors and me in the counseling field like to call it. And so what I've been doing more intentionally is what I call doing it dirty. And so doing it dirty is a phrase that I've coined in regard to being more spontaneous in the space of business. I'll say business because I can be quite a spontaneous girl personally. I'm a personal friend of Tamiko. She can vouch for that. But when it comes to a presentation or something I'm doing professionally and things of that nature, I'm an educator as well. It's a different beast for me. I operate in a choleric temperament when I get in that space. And so I've had to embrace the in the moment, like in the presence of emotions and feelings or epiphanies or ahas or revelations or rhemas or etc. that comes to me in order to do something with it. So whether that's creation or whether that's you know, communication, so on and so forth, just to do it dirty as opposed to doing it pretty because I'm accustomed to doing it pretty. And I prefer, saying doing it pretty only because I'm a person who loves to over deliver. And so with that over delivery, sometimes I can just, miss the rawness, sometimes of things. And I don't like to miss those moments because they are equally as vital and important. So just been doing it dirty, being more, I've been musing, being just slow to speak, more reflective in regard to new creations that need to evolve. And so, yeah, I just feel it's a very transitional time of life for me. So, it's a new evolution occurring. And with that, comes doing things differently that I've done before. So that's my thoughts and reflections about that.
You all panelists for sharing. I know I wrote down a lot of different things again, of what you all said. And I definitely want to open it up to the individuals in this space. So, are there things that you had to do to make those bold first moves as well? I know some of you, this is your first time here, some of you have been here. But just thinking about from a period of time, from when you began to when you ended, what was that thing that continued to keep you going, as panelists have already said? And I want to open it up to you all.
I think the thing that held me back was myself. I think I was my biggest obstacle. And when I started looking into my energy or my inner voice, I was able to push past some of those mental obstacles that I put forth. I think the biggest thing was insecurities and being able to be vulnerable, as you mentioned earlier.
And thank you so much for that, Jamar, because the vulnerability and also pointing things back to ourselves, sometimes that's the hardest piece. Because
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
it's easier to put things on others than it is to put things on ourselves.
completely.
And thank you for sharing that. And yes. And if there was anyone else that wanted to share, I'll give you an opportunity to unmute as well or put it in the chat.
May I just come back quickly for a second and talk about reflection, because excuse me, we don't embrace reflection as much as we should. And so the 3 questions that I use for reflection to really spur myself to get up and do the things that I said I was going to do is, whatever I'm doing, is it my best? Did I put forth my best effort? And I'm going to tell you all something, and here's the secret. The answer has to be no. And the answer has to be no, because I'm never going to give you 100%. I'm just not. Telling you the truth, so now you know. I'm just not. Because the second question is, can I do better? And I've always got to be in a place where I can do better, where I can improve upon whatever it is that I've tried to do. Do I want to make the best soup? Now I can make some soup. Do I want to make the best soup? What am I going to, yeah, because I can perfect that. I can make it a little bit more lemony. I can add, a little bit more spinach. I can do that, right? So the first question is, at my best, can I do better? And then the third question is, if it's not my best, and if I can do better, well, then what am I going to do? What am I prepared to do? So those 3 questions need to be top of mind, because it's going to keep us on that constant cycle of improvement as we reflect upon whatever it is that we've decided to do. So Lawrence, right now you're doing a phenomenal job, I am sure, with your college tours, but is it your best? Can you do better? And what are you prepared to do? Cicely, you just went through a whole thing about, you know what? In my personal life, I'm spontaneous, right? I'm that person. Now in your professional life, is what you're doing, is it your best? Can you do better? And what are you prepared to do? The same for you, Vicki. The same for all of us here. I hold myself to those 3 questions because I can always do better. Always do better.
Oh my goodness. I feel like Dr. Watkins always wraps it up and she ties it in such a beautiful bow every time. And I'm going to go back even to her quote. Cuz her quote is like, I don't even want to do it wrong, but if whatever needs to be said doesn't need to be said by you. And she just said a whole bunch of stuff to pull us forward and to get us to reflect appropriately. And I like again that this is like some self-regulation, some some self-actualization pieces that I know are needed in order for us to get to the next. And then I also heard continuous learning, because I feel like we are all that at all different spots. And so I thank you, Dr. Cheryl, for sharing that. Even the individuals who putting up these reactions and different things in the chat. And thank you, Nikki, for saying great reflection or effective reflective questions. Dr. Cheryl, if you can you put those questions in the chat? I was trying to put it out too, but I do think those are things that we can continue to ask ourselves, especially as we move into this next part of our time here together, which is this third bullet. Like, what will your history making quote be for you, for your network, or even your community? And Dr. Cheryl just talked about, sometimes we got to go back to ourselves. And I think, Jamar even said that too. A lot of us have said that. But what is it that we do need to help us make that thing a reality? And so for the individuals in this space, that's the thing I definitely want us to ensure that we think about, especially as we move into these breakout rooms where we share these particular questions. And I'm so glad Dr. Cheryl put those questions in the chat. And I don't see them just yet, but I know she's gonna put the questions in the chat. And so with that, for us to just think about what are those things that we are going to do. And so we will get an opportunity in just a second. And I hope that many of you stay in this space to actually introduce ourselves and then also talk about what are those things that we are going to do, or what is our quote. Some of you have shared so much during the time that we had together, but also to give an opportunity for the people in the room to reflect on what it is you want to share. And then think about what is going to be that action step? What is that thing that you are going to do with what it is you put out your quote is? So are you going to share it? Are you going to rewrite it? You're going to apply it to your life? You're going to reflect it? What are you going to do? And then also thinking about, what is going to be my I will or I am statement that I can make sure that at this moment, I'm going to share out with someone else. I'm going to share with my community, or I'm going to reflect on it as well myself. So those are the things that I would love for us to talk about in these breakout room spaces. Before we move to breakout, because I know that sometimes people need to leave, I know, around the 7 o'clock time, but want to hear whether or not this challenge was beneficial for you. And also I have the QR code up here. I'll definitely share it out afterwards, but your feedback is so important. This is our third annual Black History Month challenge. I wanted to continue, but I also know that it doesn't take just one person doing it. It's a community effort, right? So if there is a benefit, if there are things that you think need to be changed or updated, please share that. Also, I know that what we are talking about is from this journal, where I wanted people to not only take a quote, but do something with it. And you all have done that in the space. So know that that is also an option for you. And then the other is to continue to affirm each other, and continue to reflect. Thank you, Dr. Cheryl, again, and ensure that you put what it is you say in action. And that's going to be huge as well. If what everyone does from this time that we have together is say what it is, see what it is, look, see and say, like Lauren said, and then we put those things in action from our community, we have just done a lot. And so I hope to see you all back definitely at our next challenge in July. But also, I'm so grateful that you all spent the time here at this one. And so with that, I want to turn it over so that we get an opportunity to share in our breakout rooms these particular things. And before we actually share in those breakout rooms, is there anyone who wants to unmute to share maybe a word or something around what is the action that I think that I will make in my community before we go into our smaller groups?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah. So what is the action that we think we want to take for ourselves or our community?
I think the action that I want to take is to be more intentional and mindful of sticking to the goals and outcomes that'll benefit the stakeholders that I serve.
My one word is multiply.
Oh, you wanted one word? Mine is intention.
It's quite all right. It's
All
quite
right.
all
It's all right, Nikki. However it is you feel it, that's how you bring it out. So it's okay. So thank you. You said intention and what else?
Intention was my word. But just being able to do what you say and say what you do. Execution, that's great because that's my biggest skill set. I don't want to talk about it. I want to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for elaborating on that even more. And Cicely, I heard you say multiply. Thank you.
Yeah, right. I'm a duplicator. That is what I do best. In regard to just advancing the cause, right? So I'm understanding more and more my vision is so much bigger than me, and I'm going to take many more vessels than me in order to accomplish it, and it won't even be finished within my lifetime. So yeah, the multiplication facet has to become more and more instrumental for my days remaining.
I think mine is continue to learn. I think sometimes we think that we know everything. And just, just be humble enough to learn.
And I also saw someone in the chat say execution. So thank you for sharing that too. And I hope you'll share more, especially when you get into this breakout rooms too.
I'm thinking about expand, Tamiko. And with that, taking all the tools that we talked about, and when you expand, you're bringing in those tools that you have reflected on and those questions. What do I plan to do with when I figure out, is it my best? Can I do better? And what do I plan to do? How do I put all those things together to bring about the expand that I, plan to bring in my life and community?
So definitely, I know there may be more things that come up. I definitely encourage you when we get into these breakout rooms to share those things, to share what it is you will do, how you would do it, how can you make it better. And we'll come back in this space in about 10 minutes. I'm going to give you time to talk, reflect. Well, I'll give you until about 7:20 to talk, reflect, and share those particular quotes out with the individuals who are in your space. Do we have any questions before I move you into the breakout room?